Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has thrown his support behind Alex Pereira ahead of the Brazilian's high-stakes rematch with Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 320, predicting that this time Pereira will walk out with the gold wrapped back around his waist. The two are set to collide in the main event on Saturday night, in what is quickly becoming one of the most anticipated title fights of the year. Their first meeting earlier in 2025 saw Ankalaev use his measured, disciplined style to stifle Pereira's dangerous striking game and claim the light heavyweight belt via unanimous decision. For Pereira, it was a bitter pill to swallow after such a meteoric rise through the UFC ranks. For Ankalaev, it was validation of years of dominance and his ability to handle even the most decorated knockout artist in the division. Since that night, the rivalry has only intensified. The trash talk has been constant, accusations have been thrown in both directions, and at one point, tensions nearly boiled over into a physical altercation. Pereira has shrugged off the noise, promising to adjust and come back sharper, while Ankalaev has portrayed himself as the immovable champion ready to shut down Pereira a second time. The stage is set for fireworks. Thompson, one of the most respected veterans on the UFC roster, believes that fans will see a different Pereira this time around. Reflecting on their first clash, he said Pereira looked off, not like the explosive, precise striker who tore through names like Jiri, Jamala Hill, and Sean Strickland. Your body is just too worn down, they're not all there. They didn't look the same. If you notice, Alex just didn't look like the Alex of old, Wonderboy explained, adding that he felt Pereira may have been drained from fighting too frequently and not giving himself enough time to properly recover. That, in Thompson's mind, is the difference going into this rematch. I was there live for that fight, and I predicted that the next time that they fight, Alex Pereira is coming with a vengeance, he said. You need to give your body time to heal, and I think it's going to be all Alex this time. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to crush him. It's a bold take, especially given Ankalaev's consistency and the way he managed to neutralize Pereira's biggest weapons earlier this year. But coming from Thompson, who has seen and studied countless elite strikers in his career, it carries weight. Pereira has built his career on defying the odds and finding ways to land that one decisive shot, and if Wonderboy is right, fight fans could be in for a dramatic redemption story in Rio de Janeiro. The question now is whether Pereira can rise to the occasion, make the adjustments, and reclaim his crown, or whether Ankalaev's unbeaten streak will remain intact as he cements himself as the dominant force at 205 pounds. Either way, UFC 320 promises to be an unforgettable night.
UFC 320 isn't just about what happens inside the octagon, it's also bringing fans a major update in the gaming world. EA SPORTS UFC 5 has officially added one of MMA's most feared heavyweights of all time, Mark the Smashing Machine Kerr. For longtime fight fans, Kerr's arrival in the game is more than just a roster addition. It's a chance to relive a golden era of MMA history. Dominating the late 1990s, Kerr built a reputation as one of the most imposing forces the sport had ever seen. With unmatched wrestling, devastating ground control, and sheer physical strength, he stormed through opponents to win back-to-back UFC tournaments, carving out his place as one of the legends who laid the foundation for modern heavyweight MMA. Now, players can take control of Kerr in his prime and unleash the same intensity that once made him a nearly unstoppable force. Whether you're grinding through career mode or facing off online, the Smashing Machine offers a nostalgic, powerhouse option for gamers looking to mix history with competition. The update doesn't just bring Kerr into the virtual cage, it also includes exclusive vanity items inspired by the heavyweight legend, such as his iconic fight shorts and themed t-shirts, allowing fans to celebrate his legacy in style. By adding Kerr, EA Sports UFC 5 continues its trend of honoring both past icons and today's stars, ensuring that the game bridges generations of MMA fandom. For veterans of the sport, it's a trip down memory lane. For newcomers, it's a chance to experience a fighter whose dominance helped shape the UFC into what it is today. Mark Kerr is now playable in EA Sports UFC 5. Step into the octagon and relive the era of the Smashing Machine. Merab Dvalishvili isn't the kind of champion who's content to sit back and pick and choose when he shows up. He wants to fight, frequently, and keep pushing himself. The Machine arrives at UFC 320 riding the momentum of a big year. He opened 2025 by outpointing Umar Nurmagomedov at UFC 311 and then followed that by submitting Sean O'Malley in the third round at UFC 316. Now he's set for his third title defense when he meets Corey Sandhagen in the co-main event at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and he made it clear he's not planning to disappear once the dust settles. Dvalishvili told UFC.com that being active is part of who he is. He wants challenges, discipline, and to squeeze as much out of his prime as possible. "I want to be busy. I want to challenge myself more. Stay disciplined," he said. "I want to have 4 fights this year. This would be a real good opportunity if the UFC will give me the chance. I want to do the most. I want to enjoy this because I'm healthy, I'm ready, and I don't want to waste time." That's a striking statement from a champion. Instead of protecting his legacy by picking safe matchups or long layoffs, Dvalishvili wants volume, more camps, more tests, more chances to prove himself against the best. He isn't overlooking Sandhagen either. Dvalishvili praised Corey's resume and work rate, calling him the most deserving guy right now. Sandhagen's highlight reel, flying knee knockout of Frankie Edgar, spinning kick KO of Marlon Moraes, the submission of Batista, and consistent top-level opponents makes him a stylistic challenge for any champion, especially one known for relentless wrestling and pressure. Dvalishvili acknowledged that Sandhagen brings tricks, timing, and heavy finishing tools, but he also stressed that he spent this camp sharpening more than just his takedowns. That's an important detail. While Merab's identity has long been built on wrestling, cardio, and suffocating pace, he says he's been working on his striking and wants to show that side of his game on Saturday. "I'm looking to knock him out. That's what I'm looking for, but we'll see," he said. It isn't empty bravado, it's a strategic message. If Sandhagen stuffs takedowns, Dvalishvili insists he can finish the fight with his hands. If the challenger respects Dvalishvili's gas and grappling, that opens space for Merab to land heavier strikes. Either way, Dvalishvili's objective is clear: keep the belt, keep evolving, and keep fighting. The bigger picture takeaway is that Dvalishvili wants to be more than a dominant stylist. He wants to be a complete, active champion who gives fans constant, compelling matchups. 4 fights in a year is an aggressive target for any title holder, but for someone who thrives on pressure and momentum, it makes sense. Fans and matchmakers will be watching closely. If he defends his title Saturday and truly leans into being both busier and more well-rounded, the bantamweight division could see a lot more movement and some fresh, high-stakes matchups before year's end. Ateba Gautier will indeed step back into the octagon this weekend, despite a late shakeup to his UFC 320 booking. Originally scheduled to face Ozzy Diaz on the preliminary card at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, the matchup was scrapped when Diaz withdrew on Monday due to undisclosed medical concerns, leaving the 23-year-old Cameroonian prospect temporarily without an opponent. For a moment, it looked like Gautier's momentum might be halted, but the UFC quickly moved to keep him on the card. On Tuesday, it was confirmed that Gautier will now meet promotional newcomer Tristan Vines in a middleweight showdown. Vines, who takes the fight on just 5 days' notice, was preparing to compete at LFA 219 before receiving the call from the UFC. At 29 years old, he carries a 10-3 professional record with 7 finishes, most recently stopping his opponent at AFC 12 in August.
While he lacks octagon experience, his finishing ability makes him a dangerous short-notice replacement who will have little to lose and everything to gain. For Gautier, the switch of opponents is just another obstacle on his rise through the division. Nicknamed the Silent Assassin, he has been making noise with his fists instead of his words, stringing together 7 consecutive knockouts. His UFC run began on Dana White's Contender Series in September 2024, where he earned a contract with a stoppage win over Yura Naito. And he followed it up with back-to-back UFC victories, including a blistering first-round KO of Robert Valentin at UFC 318 in July. That win pushed his professional record to 8-1, with an unblemished 2-0 start inside the UFC. While Diaz's withdrawal may have changed the stylistic matchup Gautier had been preparing for, the young knockout artist now has the chance to extend his streak against a debutant stepping in under high-pressure circumstances. Vines brings grit and finishing instincts, but Gautier has already proven his ability to shine under the bright lights. With both men packing knockout power, their clash at UFC 320 could be one of the sleeper bangers on the card, and a chance for Gautier to prove once again that he is one of the most dangerous rising names in the middleweight division. Just a few months after bidding farewell to mixed martial arts, Dustin Poirier has opened the door to one more fight, but not inside the UFC's octagon. Instead, the Diamond hinted that he could be persuaded to lace up the gloves in a boxing ring, provided the right opportunity presents itself. Poirier, a former interim lightweight champion and one of the most respected veterans in the sport, walked away from MMA after completing his trilogy against Max Holloway earlier this year. That bout, staged in front of his home state fans in Louisiana, was billed as his final hurrah. Win or lose, Poirier wanted to close out his career in front of the people who had supported him throughout his journey. The fight ended with him getting his hand raised, and many felt it was a fitting curtain call for a man who gave everything to the sport. Over the course of his UFC career, Poirier became known not only for his thrilling fighting style and world-class boxing, but also for his heart, grit, and charitable efforts outside the cage. He faced legends, competed in some of the most memorable wars in UFC history, and built a reputation as one of the lightweight division's most beloved figures. His departure left a void, but fans also celebrated the fact that he was stepping away with his health, legacy, and dignity intact. Still, the fighting spirit rarely goes away so easily. With the recent announcement of Zuffa Boxing, UFC's long-teased sister promotion officially entering the world of professional boxing, Poirier took to social media to float an intriguing possibility. Posting online, he wrote, "Zuffa Boxing, 12 rounds, me and Nathaniel. I'd do it. Only one more fight I'd take." The Nathaniel he refers to is widely believed to be Nathaniel Diaz, better known to fight fans as Nate Diaz. The two were once booked to fight in the UFC, but the matchup fell apart before it ever reached the cage, leaving unfinished business between them. A potential boxing clash would finally bring their rivalry full circle, only this time in a different setting. For fans, the idea of Poirier versus Diaz under boxing rules is electric. Both men have massive followings, both are cult heroes in MMA, and both are known for their toughness and ability to draw crowds. In addition, Diaz has already dabbled in boxing, going the distance with Jake Paul in a crossover spectacle, while Poirier's clean technical striking has long been one of his calling cards. Of course, reactions to Poirier's tease have been mixed. Some see it as a dream matchup that could bring excitement to Zuffa Boxing's early events, giving the new promotion a blockbuster headliner. Others, however, feel that Poirier has already done enough and doesn't need to risk his legacy by stepping into another dangerous fight. He's 34 years old, has endured plenty of wars, and seemed at peace with retirement just months ago. Whether he follows through or not, the fact that Poirier is even entertaining the idea shows that his competitive fire hasn't been extinguished yet. For now, it's nothing more than a tease, but with Zuffa Boxing looking for big names and big fights to launch their brand, the prospect of Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz in the boxing ring feels closer than ever. Retired or not, the Diamond continues to keep fans on their toes, and if this matchup comes together, it would instantly become one of the most anticipated crossover fights in recent memory.
The countdown to UFC 320 has a different kind of energy surrounding it. For Alex Pereira, this isn't just about belts, rankings, or legacy. It's about redemption. When he steps into the octagon for his rematch with Magomed Ankalaev, the Brazilian powerhouse isn't only trying to reclaim the light heavyweight title he lost in March, he's also aiming to prove that what fans saw at UFC 313 wasn't the true version of Poatan. That night, questions about age, health, and fatigue swirled, leading many to wonder whether his body was starting to betray him at 38 years old. It's no secret that Pereira has been one of the most active fighters on the roster in recent years. In both 2023 and 2024, he stepped up multiple times, sometimes even bailing out the promotion by taking short-notice fights. That relentless pace kept him in the spotlight, but also came with a price. "I have always been non-stop," Pereira told ESPN MMA through his translator. "I just felt like I needed to stay active. But it was a cumulative effect. A lot of things started adding up. My body started feeling it, I started aging, and maybe these 7 months between these two fights was the best thing I needed to do." Looking back on UFC 313, Pereira admits that he wasn't himself. He entered the Ankalaev fight already compromised, and what unfolded reflected that. In fact, as Joe Rogan revealed earlier this year, Pereira was dealing with a broken hand and norovirus during fight week, a claim the Brazilian later confirmed to Ariel Helwani. And it wasn't the first time he'd gone into battle less than 100%. Ahead of UFC 307, where he stopped Khalil Roundtree, Pereira fought through a fever, throat infection, rib pain, and even a nagging toe ligament injury. The fact that he still managed to win under those conditions only reinforces how dangerous he is when healthy. Now, as UFC 320 approaches, Pereira insists the narrative is different. He's had a proper camp, stayed in the US without distractions, and allowed his body to rest in a way he hadn't before. The Brazilian openly admits that in hindsight, fighting so frequently was a mistake, and while he won't shut the door on future opportunities, he knows pacing himself is the smarter long-term strategy. His opponent, Ankalaev, remains a massive challenge. The Dagestani champion is known for his composure, strength, and grinding style. But Pereira's peers believe things will look very different this time around. Stephen Wonderboy, one of the sport's most respected strikers, said it best. "You need to give your body time to heal, and I think it's going to be all Alex this time. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to crush him." With 7 full months of recovery behind him, Pereira has retooled his approach, making health and longevity a priority. For fans, that means Saturday night could be a showcase of the real Alex Pereira, refreshed, focused, and dangerous. If that's the version that steps into the cage at UFC 320, Ankalaev may find himself facing an entirely different fight than the one he won earlier this year.